only part of the playbook. Iran fields land attack and anti-ship cruise missiles. Systems include Sumar, Ya Ali, Quds variants, Hoveze, Pave, and Ra'ad. The Sumar can travel up to 2,500 kilometers. Cruise missiles fly low. They hug terrain. They are harder to detect. Then come the drones. One-way attack drones are cheaper. They can be launched in waves. The strategy is saturation. Overload air defenses. Keep airports, ports, and energy sites on alert for hours, not minutes. Numbers alone do not define power. Survivability does. Iran has hardened parts of its missile program in underground storage tunnels and concealed bases. These networks make it harder to eliminate launch capability in a first wave. For adversaries, that complicates calculations. So a strike may not end the exchange. It could prolong it. And Tehran certainly has the firepower to sustain a long fight.
So Iran continues to rain missiles. In fact, they are increasing the intensity, meaning the regime continues to be in control. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei may be gone, but his loyalists remain. And that is the problem for Israel and the US. They reveal their hand very early. Their goal is to topple this regime and install a new one. The question is, how will they do it? US President Donald Trump is giving mixed messages. In one interview, Trump endorsed the formula from Venezuela. Basically, the top leader is swapped out, but the regime is left in place. That's what they did in Venezuela, and he suggested they might do the same thing in Iran. Just one problem, though. Iran is not Venezuela. We are talking about battle-hardened ideological leaders here. Most of the regional commanders operate on their own in Iran. They do not wait for orders from Tehran. The regional commanders outside Iran, of course, in West Asia too. Until this weekend, Khamenei was the glue that held them together. These commanders may listen to a loyal successor, but a betrayer of the regime, well, he is unlikely to last long. Trump says he has 3 candidates who could run Iran. He says some of them have also reached out. Listen to the US president's statement. They want to talk, and I have agreed to talk, so I will be talking to them. They should have done it sooner. They should have given what was very practical and easy to do sooner. They waited too long. Now, most of the American media ran with this. They reported that Iran was seeking talks. But then came the clarification. A message was posted by Iran's security chief, Ali Larijani. Look at what he said, and I'm quoting again, "We will not negotiate with the United States." To be fair, Iran was always talking to the US. It was Donald Trump who decided to attack anyway, in the middle of talks. And there are 2 possibilities here. One, Iran is indeed seeking a truce, but in secret. Possibility 2, Donald Trump wants an off-ramp before things spiral out of control. He wants to make it seem like Iran is suing for peace. Now, it's not clear which of these 2 things is happening, but either way, this is just one of the scenarios that Trump is pushing, the so-called Venezuela model. The other scenario is a complete regime change. Trump is not willing to put soldiers on the ground yet. Instead, he is relying on Iranian people. He wants ordinary Iranians to overthrow their regime.
I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help.
So Trump says he has fulfilled his promise. The rest is up to the Iranians. Again, this does not sound like a solid plan. Because the regime is both hated and loved in Iran, you must have seen the pictures of celebrations after Khamenei's death. Those tell just one half of the story, those pictures. We saw much bigger protests and mournings as well. So if these 2 camps meet on the streets, the supporters and the opponents of the regime, what do you think will happen? Deadly violence. And do not forget, the regime has an army of its own, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC. They also have an internal militia called the Basij Force. So if things spiral at home, expect them to crack down hard. In fact, we saw that earlier this year. Thousands of pro-regime forces cracked down on protesters. They killed more than 3,000 innocent Iranian civilians. This is a militia that will go to any lengths to protect the regime. So you've got two proposals from Donald Trump. One is a Venezuela blueprint. Crack the regime and install a loyalist. The second is a total regime change, not using US soldiers, but using Iranian protesters. Both these scenarios exclude one very loud and key player. And that's Reza Pahlavi, the son of the last Shah of Iran. He wants to be the transitional leader of Iran, sort of like a caretaker before democracy. The problem is, Donald Trump does not see him that way. Trump wants existing Iranian leaders, whether inside the regime or outside, to take over. So guess what Reza Pahlavi is doing? He's offering trillions of Iran's resources to Donald Trump.
Just by a change that we hope to bring to the table, that will be probably over $1 trillion worth of impact and revenue to the American economy, just by Iran's market being open to America, and how much we stand to benefit from billions of dollars willing to be invested into Iran.
Again, this is a stretch. US oil companies are yet to return to Venezuela, so what are the chances of them returning to Iran? Even if the regime falls, it could take decades. And all of this confirms what we already knew. The Americans and the Israelis do not have a plan for the day after. They have killed Khamenei. They have taken out the top leadership. But what comes next is basically out of syllabus. The war may be unfolding in the skies over Iran, but the real story could be about what did not happen. The US-Israeli strikes were testing Iran's air defense shield. And at the heart of that shield is a Chinese-made system, one that Beijing markets as cutting edge, the HQ-9B. On paper, it's powerful and highly advanced, built to counter exactly this kind of attack. But when the missiles flew, the Chinese system did not deliver. And this is not the first time that questions like these have surfaced. The same thing happened last year during Operation Sindoor in May 2025. Pakistan was using the Chinese systems then, the HQ-9B. They were put to the test, and they really struggled against India. India managed to penetrate the Chinese systems and struck Pakistani military bases. So did China's HQ-9B air defense system first fail Pakistan and now Iran? Our next report tells you.
The United States and Israel launched coordinated airstrikes deep inside Iran. We're talking about precision strikes across multiple provinces. Radar sites were hit, missile batteries were damaged, military infrastructure were targeted. It was a carefully planned operation to punch holes in Iran's air defense shield. And that shield includes one controversial piece of hardware, the Chinese-made HQ-9B. So what exactly is the HQ-9B? Think of it like a country's air bodyguard. The HQ-9B is a long-range, surface-to-air missile system developed by China. It's designed to shoot down fighter jets, cruise missiles, drones, and even some ballistic threats. On paper, it's impressive. It has a range of around 250 to 260 kilometers. Its radar can track over 100 targets at once. It uses phased array radar, meaning it scans the sky electronically, not mechanically. It launches vertically, meaning it can fire in any direction quickly. In theory, it's built to stop exactly the kind of attack Iran just faced. But here's the thing. A missile launcher is just the visible part. But air defense itself is part of a network. You need early warning radars, command centers, data links, electronic warfare protection, and integration between systems. If the radar is blinded, if the command center is jammed, if communications are disrupted, then your expensive missiles become useless metal tubes. And that's where things get interesting. Iran doesn't rely on just one system. It built layers. The outer layer includes Russian S-300PM U-2, Chinese HQ-9B, and its own Bavar 373. The middle layer consists of mobile systems like Khordad and Rad. The inner layer is made of point defense guns and short-range missiles. The idea is that if one layer misses, the next catches. But that was also a weak point. You see, Iran's network is a mix of Russian hardware, Chinese systems, and indigenous platforms. Different software, different protocols, and different integration standards. Unlike tightly fused Western systems, Iran's setup isn't one brain. It's more like several brains trying to coordinate. In modern warfare, milliseconds matter, and if they don't coordinate, you lose. So did the HQ-9B fail? That depends on what you mean by failure. Did it intercept nothing? We don't know. Did it stop some threats? Possibly. But here's what we do know. Major infrastructure was hit. Radar installations were reportedly neutralized early. If your radar goes down first, your missile system is blind. Now, the HQ-9B is marketed as comparable to systems like Russia's S-300 and even influenced by designs similar to the US Patriot. China deploys it in sensitive regions like the South China Sea and around Beijing. So, its battlefield reputation matters. If it struggled in Iran under US-Israeli pressure, that raises questions, not just for Tehran, but for every country buying Chinese air defense systems. If the HQ-9B couldn't hold up under real combat pressure, export credibility takes a hit. And maybe that's the real takeaway. On paper, the HQ-9B looks formidable. But modern war isn't fought on brochures, and if your system can't shoot when it matters most, then all that range and radar capabilities count for very little. For Iran, this was a stress test. For China's defense exports, it may have been something more.
Now let's tell you about the crisis unfolding on the high seas. There are 250 ships stuck in West Asian waters. This is the world's most important shipping corridor. It has effectively shut down, and this has direct consequences for you. Because most of the things that you use are transported by sea. This includes your food, your fuel, and many of the products that you use. They reach you through the global supply chain, and this conflict, this war, has frozen a key part of that supply chain. The Strait of Hormuz. We've been telling you about it on the show. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway. It connects the Persian Gulf with the wider ocean. At its narrowest point, this strait is roughly 33 kilometers wide. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil flows through here. The oil supply flows through here. 20% of the global oil supply goes through this strait. Plus, a number of other shipments also pass through it. Now, Iran virtually controls this waterway. It sits on the northern shore of the Strait of Hormuz. So if Iran wants, it can close the shipping route. Officially, Iran has not done that yet. But for all practical purposes, the Strait of Hormuz is shut. Ships are not moving through it because it's too risky. As of yesterday, at least 150 tankers were stuck in the Gulf waters. They were clustered off the coast of 3 countries, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. These vessels are not in distress. They're just waiting and watching. They're not sure if it's safe to move just yet. In addition to these ships, another 100 tankers are stuck. They're anchored outside the Strait of Hormuz and along the coastlines of the UAE and Oman. So in total, there are 250 ships parked in these waters. It's not clear when they can move. Now look at what they're loaded with. There are tankers which move oil and LNG supplies, and there are container ships which carry goods for everyday use, including electronics, auto parts, food, and consumer products. The owners of these vessels do not want to take a chance, which is why they are waiting. Some of them have begun rerouting. They're taking a different route. They're trying to avoid the troubled waters of West Asia. But that too is a problem, because a route change means delays in delivery. More significantly, it means higher costs, because now the ships will be taking longer routes. What's worse, insurers are cancelling contracts. As you may know, ships go with an insurance policy. They cannot travel without it. The insurance protects the goods that they're carrying from potential losses. But due to the current uncertainty, some insurers have refused to extend policies. Plus, the cost of insurance is rising because now there is more risk in moving goods. Consider a scenario. Say there is a $100 million vessel. Earlier, the insurance cost for the ship was $250,000 per voyage. The new cost is expected to be around $375,000 per voyage. That's an increase of more than 30%. And who will pay for this increase? The consumers, people like you and me. Shipping companies pass the extra cost to traders, traders pass it on to distributors, and so it goes on the chain, and in the end it lands with the consumer at the checkout counter. This is not an unprecedented situation. The Strait of Hormuz has been under threat before. In 2019, tankers were attacked there, ships were seized, insurance premiums spiked. But the market recovered relatively quickly. This time, the scale of the disruption is quite different, because this is not one single incident. This is a full suspension of movement. It involves hundreds of vessels, and it's happening simultaneously. Also, there is no visibility on how long it may last. If the fighting stops, the ships will start moving again. But if the conflict drags on, the crisis will reach your petrol pumps and supermarkets, and eventually you will end up paying for the war in West Asia. It's day 3 of the war in West Asia, and as expected, there is no let-up. If Israel and the US were hoping for a shock-and-awe victory, they were wrong. Iran's regime has recovered from the first day's onslaught. Now they're widening the war. Saudi oil refineries are being bombed. US tankers are being hit. Israeli cities are being peppered. It's the ultimate test of resilience and firepower. Let's look at the top updates from today. Saudi Arabia's biggest oil refinery has been shut. That's the Ras Tanura on the Persian Gulf. This refinery complex was targeted by Iranian drones. Saudi military says they intercepted it. They intercepted the drones, but perhaps the debris impact was significant, the impact of the falling debris, because pictures showed a massive cloud of smoke. Take a look. Ras Tanura produces around 500,000 barrels of oil per day. It is also a key export terminal for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so the shutdown is quite significant. Kuwait was another key battleground today. 3 US aircraft were shot down by friendly fire in Kuwait. Even the US embassy in Kuwait was hit. Explosions were also heard in Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Doha. It is clear that Iran is not just hitting American bases, they're also targeting other strategic locations like data centers, airports and seaports. Today marked the 10th wave of Iranian strikes. The regime is firing a cocktail of ballistic missiles and drones. Their goal is to overwhelm and exhaust the enemy air defenses. Some of their missiles got through today. One of them slammed into Beersheba in southern Israel. Missiles also targeted Jerusalem, Tel Aviv and Haifa. Iran claims even Benjamin Netanyahu's office was targeted, the Israeli Prime Minister's office. And it's not just Iran. Overnight, Hezbollah also joined the fight. The Lebanese group had stayed out of the war until now, but Ayatollah Khamenei's death has forced them to join. Hezbollah fired rockets at Israeli sites. Most of them were intercepted by the Iron Dome. And in response, Israel bombed deep inside Beirut. Some top Hezbollah leaders were taken out. The strikes on Iran also continue. Israel and the US are working in tandem to take out Iran's capabilities, mainly their air defenses and their missiles. Israel has released footage of an attack on Iran's defense system. You can see Iranian soldiers trying to activate the missiles, but on cue, the bombs dropped. Same on the offensive side. Both Israel and the US are hunting for Iranian missiles and launchers. Like yesterday, fighter jets are also being blown up on the tarmac. Take a look. The idea here is to defang Iran, to weaken and destroy their offensive capabilities. And how long would that take? The US Defense Department briefed the media today. The top US general says Washington has achieved air superiority over Iran, meaning their jets and drones can fly without challenge.
The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran.
Defense Secretary, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also gave a statement. He says, this will not be an endless war like Iraq, nor will it be a regime change or nation-building war. In fact, Hegseth confirmed that the US is not focusing on democracy in Iran. He says the goal is to win at all costs. So what does victory look like? Well, Pete Hegseth repeated what Donald Trump said on Saturday, that Iran's missiles, its navy and its nuclear program must be wiped out.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
He may say this is not about regime change, but his president is certainly talking about it. We'll tell you more about that later. The US military, as we can see it, is projecting confidence. But insider scoops tell a different story. Reports say the mood at the Pentagon is tense. There are concerns over the depleting air defense stockpiles. It often takes multiple interceptors to shoot down a single missile. So if this continues for a long time, the US stockpile may be strained. And Iran is prepared for that. Look at what their security chief is saying. I'm quoting, Iran, unlike the United States, has prepared itself for a long war. We will fiercely defend ourselves and our 6,000-year-old civilization, regardless of the costs. That last part will worry Washington. Iran says it does not care about the cost of its attack, and that is true. Iran has been attacking the Gulf states relentlessly. They're hitting oil facilities and tankers, so their thinking is quite clear. Raise the stakes for America and its partners, even if that means permanently burning bridges to the Gulf. It's a risky strategy, but one that the regime is betting on. The war rages on, and so does the flood of videos. Every hour, new clips light up your screens. Explosions in the night, streaks across the sky, and fires and blasts. It's dramatic, it's scary, and there's also a good chance that it's not real. That is the big problem with wars in the age of social media and AI. There's a lot of fake news floating around. Some videos are authentic, some are old recycled clips, and some are entirely AI generated, designed to look real, feel urgent, and spread fast. So think before you hit forward, before you share. We have carefully compiled and verified the top videos from the last 24 hours that sum up this fighting, this war. And we're starting with video number 1. It's a clip of an F-15 jet being downed in Kuwait. You can see the jet going down, the pilot ejected just in time. Another clip shows the pilot parachuting to the ground. Initial reports said that this was not the only plane to be hit. They said several US warplanes had been downed, and Iran even claimed responsibility for taking down those planes. It said it had struck a US F-15 fighter jet. But the Americans have since clarified. They say that 3 American F-15 fighter jets were accidentally shot down by the Kuwaiti air defenses.
لا والله حربية طيارة حربية طيارة حربية شوف 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 فيها واحد شوف هذا المسير يا الربع شوف نزلوا هذول إيرانيين.
Video number 2 comes from Bahrain. Last night, thick black smoke hung over the capital, Manama. Iranian strikes targeted Bahrain's main naval base. This is an American base. It's the headquarters of the United States Fifth Fleet. There's a British naval facility right next to it. An Iranian drone is believed to have hit close to this. No casualties have been reported so far, but the fire was massive. Flames lit up the night sky, and the smoke could be seen from miles away. And it's not just Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, and Kuwait. They're all home to US military bases. Most of them intercepted the missiles coming their way, but there was still some damage, especially from the falling debris. Yesterday, we showed you curated videos of the operation. These were from Israel and the US. Today, we'll show you a video from Iran. It's been released by the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're sharing videos of their attacks, videos that show Iran going hypersonic, Iran launching the next generation Fateh 2 hypersonic missile. And where are these missiles headed? All over West Asia. Streaks of fire can be seen across the skies of the region and especially over Israel. Again, most of these were intercepted. There are also some videos of the interception. Take a look at this one. It's not just West Asia that is engulfed in chaos. Look at the situation in Pakistan. Yesterday, protests erupted in the country. This was over the killing of the Iranian supreme leader. He was a leader of the Shia Muslim community, so there were violent protests in Pakistan. At least 22 people were killed in the protest. More than 100 others were injured. Protesters even tried to storm the U.S. consulate in Karachi. There was smoke on the streets, burning tires, and clashes between the protesters and security forces. There were also protests in Baghdad's Green Zone. Hundreds of people clashed with security forces. Police had to resort to firing tear gas to disperse them. In India too, there were demonstrations. These are pictures from Kashmir. Some of these incidents did turn violent. The reaction to Khamenei's death has been wide-ranging. Millions across the world are mourning. There are visuals from Beirut, Yemen, Iraq, even Dhaka. People are slamming the United States of America and expressing their support for the regime in Tehran. Of course, this is just one side of the story. Many in Iran and many Iranians in exile are also celebrating. But those are the top videos from the last 24 hours. There are many more doing the rounds. But like I said, stay vigilant. It's better to verify than to share the wrong thing. Because in war, do remember this, misinformation moves faster than missiles. The airspace over West Asia is shut, leaving tens of thousands of people stranded. We are talking about tourists, we're talking about students, people who cannot afford being stuck in a war zone. So what is the way out for them? Well, commercial flights are not really an option. Most carriers have grounded their fleet in West Asia. So if you're stranded, if you're a stranded traveler, here's what you should do. First of all, see what the host government is offering. Consider the UAE, for example. More than 20,000 travelers are stuck in the UAE. So their government is funding their stay, meals and flights. The UAE government is paying for all of it, and we must add that this is a laudable gesture. So do make sure that you're in touch with the local authorities because they know the ground situation the best. Secondly, look at what your own government is saying. Go to social media, track the Indian embassy, for instance. If you're in Qatar, search for India in Qatar. You will find the embassy's page. If you're in the UAE, search for India in the UAE. If you're in Saudi Arabia, search for India in Saudi Arabia. That's how you will find the embassy. And these pages are reposting updates from multiple airlines. They're also issuing advisories for Indian citizens. So if you follow them, you will know what the official guidelines are. In the UAE, India is asking citizens to avoid unnecessary travel. In Saudi Arabia, you're advised to remain vigilant. Similar notices have been issued by embassies across the region, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, and in Qatar. Also, an important reminder, some governments have banned the filming of missile and drone interceptions. Kuwait, for example, has warned against it. So if you see a military interception, take cover. Do not film it. If you do, there could be repercussions down the line. Follow the local guidelines to the T. But what if you want to leave? Is there any way out of West Asia right now? Only two major airports are operational at the moment, the King Khalid International Airport in Riyadh and the Muscat International Airport in Oman. Today, the Dubai airport will also resume partial operations. Authorities say a limited number of flights will be taking off from Dubai, but do not go to the airport unless the carriers call you, unless the airline has called you. As for Riyadh and Muscat, be mindful of the journey. You may find some flights on your country, to your country rather, from these airports. But first, call up the carriers and confirm. Confirm if the flight is still on. Only then should you set off for the airport, either in Riyadh or in Muscat. And of course, this cannot be a solution for everyone stuck in West Asia. Because one, it's very, very expensive. Only limited planes are flying right now, so tickets will cost a bomb. And secondly, getting to Riyadh or Muscat won't be easy. Look at this map. Dubai to Riyadh is a 10-hour drive. Doha to Muscat is also a 10-hour drive. So select your airport based on which city you're in. And goes without saying, this is a risky bet. Some wealthy residents are undertaking this journey. They're hiring private security for a ride to Riyadh or Muscat. Meanwhile, some governments are also taking proactive steps. The UK, for instance, has reached out to stranded Britons. They're asking them to register themselves to the UK government. So far, more than 100,000 people have registered. 1 lakh British citizens have registered. London is not planning an immediate evacuation of these people, but the idea is to be ready if the need arises. The European Union is doing the same. Again, there is no imminent plan to evacuate citizens, but some member states of the EU are going ahead on their own. Germany, for instance, is sending planes to evacuate its citizens. They will fly out their people from Riyadh and Muscat. What about India? As of now, the government of India is not talking about evacuations. It has not even asked citizens to register. But if things escalate, New Delhi may have to start thinking about it. We have nearly 10 million Indians in West Asia. They're spread across the Gulf, Iran and Israel. So an evacuation will be complex. Of course, that comes later. The first step is for India to offer some clarity. Stay vigilant does not really help as an advisory. You need a concrete advisory and a concrete plan. If you're watching us from West Asia, we've been flashing the emergency numbers on the screen. These have been provided by the Foreign Ministry. You can use them to reach out to the officials. The US attack on Iran has rattled global markets. From Tokyo to Mumbai and New York, stocks have fallen, oil prices are surging, and gold prices are climbing. We'll begin with oil because this is what impacts everyone. Brent crude is the global benchmark for oil prices. It is trading close to $80 a barrel, 80. The price has jumped by over 10% since this crisis began. This is not a routine escalation, this is a shock. And the reason is quite simple. A, the conflict is unfolding in West Asia, and B, the conflict is expanding. More than 40% of the world's oil comes from this region, from West Asia, 40% of the oil. So when this region is at war, oil supplies do get hit. And countries like India are especially exposed to this risk. India imports close to 90% of its oil, so when prices go up, we pay more for the same amount of energy, domestic fuel prices go up, cost of transportation of goods goes up, and as a consequence, prices of all goods shoot up. In other words, there is inflation. In India, inflation has been under control for months now. In January, for instance, India's inflation rate stood at 2.75%, which is well below the Reserve Bank's target of 4%. So 2.75% as inflation is a good figure to have. It meant that prices were stable. But if crude oil prices continue to rise, India faces a challenge. And the markets are already responding to those risks. The Sensex fell by over 1,000 points in today's trade. The Nifty dropped by over 300 points. And the Indian rupee is struggling too. It has dropped to 91.67 against the dollar. This is the weakest the rupee has been since early February. And it's the same story across Asia. Japan's Nikkei 225 fell by over 1%. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng dropped by over 2%. Markets in South Korea were shut today for a public holiday, but the broader trajectory is clear. Across global markets, the selling is broad and sharp. Europe opened in negative territory today. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 fell by 1.8% shortly after opening. This index tracks 600 of Europe's largest listed companies. Let's also look at the American market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by over 500 points on opening. That's a drop of 1.1%. The Dow tracks 30 of the largest companies in the United States. The S&P 500 also lost 1.1%. This index follows 500 leading American companies across sectors. It offers a broader snapshot of the U.S. economy. And then there's the NASDAQ. It fell by over 140 points, or close to 1%. The NASDAQ is heavily weighted towards technology stocks. So all three major indices of the US are in the red today. Investors are pulling their money from stocks and pouring it into gold, because gold is the oldest safe harbor in finance. When the world feels unstable, investors move towards gold, and right now they're moving in droves. Spot gold has already crossed $5,400 an ounce, $5,400 for 1 ounce. 1 ounce is about 30 grams. This is a price jump of about 4%. And the trend may not reverse anytime soon, because this conflict has hit markets that were already under pressure. You see, global stocks have been struggling this year, mostly because of artificial intelligence. A new wave of AI tools disrupted entire sectors. So investors began pulling money out of tech, and it had a ripple effect. And now we have a war in West Asia, making a bad situation worse. A second blow to the markets that are still smarting from the first one. The war is expanding because Iran is firing in all directions, not just at American and Israeli assets, but also at its Gulf Arab neighbors. So far, Iran has fired at least 390 missiles and 830 drones across the Persian Gulf. That's close to 1,700 missiles and drones. 6 countries in the region have been targeted. They intercepted more than 1,000 missiles and drones, but the air defenses are not foolproof. So oil facilities have been struck, military bases have been hit, and even cities like Dubai have not been spared. For Iran, the idea is to show that if they are under attack, nobody in the region is safe. Here's a report.
They are falling in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Manama in Bahrain, a military base in Iraq, as well as an Aramco facility in Saudi Arabia. These strikes are a demonstration of Tehran's power in an expanding West Asian conflict. Iran does not rely on air power. It relies on missiles, thousands of them. Iran has both ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as drones designed to overwhelm an enemy's defenses. Experts say Iran has the largest and most varied missile arsenal in West Asia. Tehran holds more than 3,000 ballistic missiles. This is according to an assessment by the U.S. Central Command in 2022. Reports say 2,000 of these missiles can reach other countries across West Asia. That gives Iran reach even without a modern air force. Iranian officials call this the backbone of deterrence. Short-range ballistic missiles form the first layer. They typically travel between 150 and 800 kilometers.